All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the SIG Docs weekly APAC friendly meeting. This is the fourth Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on where you're at in the world, of March 23rd or March 24th. And I'm Jim Angel, a co-chair of SIG Docs, and let's get this thing started. So I see all two returning contributors, so it's good to see everybody. Welcome back, and thanks for joining. And as far as the reminders, this week's PR Wrangler is Steve Perry. Steve Perry actually switched over to being an emeritus approver. So I got to PR those changes to address that. I wanted to ask, is there anybody willing to take over the PR Wrangler shift for this week? And if not, that's okay.
Maybe I can.
Okay, so one issue with that, Ming, is that you are the PR Wrangler for next week as well. I'd hate to give you double duties. I can definitely help out with the PR wrangling schedule if you'd like. Maybe Ming, you and I could split it.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Let me make that change. Thank you, and thank you for the double duty. So Ming is also the PR Wrangler for next week. So as always, approvers, make sure you know your PR wrangling schedule. There's a link in the chat there, or link in the agenda. So moving on to the release 121, Ray unfortunately couldn't make it, but did sync with me before this meeting and let me know that there was a status of yellow for the release cycle. Currently waiting on the docs to be ready for review tomorrow is the deadline. They had two outstanding when we chatted. I just saw that one actually merged, so now we're down to one that should be worked on later on this evening. So it's yellow, but I feel like it's a little bit of a cautious yellow. So things are going well, but just to be aware that the deadline of docs ready for review is tomorrow, and we have one outstanding PR. So moving on to issues or PRs. Currently, we have nothing slated for discussion. Does anyone have any PRs or issues they want to bring up for discussion? All right, here nothing. Said this would be a quick one. So moving on to the discussion area or open discussion, Abigail has been investigating how we can build out reports for localizations. A while back, I want to say about 6 months ago or so, I was working with some of the localization teams about how we could generate a report. The conversation went back and forth on how to use Google Analytics most effectively as far as sending out those PDF reports. We haven't found a great solution to give the folks who need the data the access that they need, while at the same time not sending out a bunch of spam emails to folks who don't need that type of data around localization. So looking at what pages are popular for various languages, benchmarking those pages against the English pages popularity, things of that nature that you'd want to be aware of when localizing any sort of documentation. So the idea that Abigail proposed, and we'll discuss this further as well in future meetings as well as on the email list, was using Google Data Studio. And personally, I don't have a ton of experience with Google Data Studio, but it sounds like a free data visualization platform that integrates directly with Google Analytics. So there's still some more discussion to happen around this, but I feel like it's a pretty big development as far as how we can portray and visualize some of the localization analytics. With this approach, as opposed to going with a method that would send an email to everybody, it would just be a website that folks could then go and look at and see the current data sets that are present through the website. So I think it's a great solution. I think there's more things to discuss around there, but I did want to raise visibility here, kind of the dip our toes in the water and see what we're all thinking about this. So I'll stop there. Any questions or comments around what I just said? That was a long spiel.
Do you want to try this out?
Yeah, so that's the plan is the Google Data Studio we want to try out. The unknown questions right now, we haven't gotten too far into investigating what does the final solution look like. But some of the barriers to trying this out is what account will we use to own it? can we automate some of the onboarding, offboarding? I think there's some more discussion to be had around the operational model of it, but we absolutely would like to give it a try to see if that works.
Whenever you need a tester from localization team, I'm always here. So just ping me.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. And I think that what we'll need to do is figure out some of the operational pieces as well as some of the testing and making sure the dashboard can be appropriate. But from the initial tests that I've seen, everything looks like it has all the data we need: popular pages, most visits, click-throughs, ability to filter, etc.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions about that? All right, more to come there. And one thing that I didn't have slated on the agenda, but I'm going to add it here. So we have this APAC friendly time zone meeting that happens, once a month, the fourth Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on how you look at it, every single calendar month. But we also have the localization working group. And Brad, I'm glad you're on this call. I haven't talked to anybody about this. I'm completely just talking off the cusp, I guess, But I'm curious what folks' thoughts are on merging the two of them. And I don't really have a preference over one or the other, but I feel like in previous APAC meetings, I've always said this would be a great topic for the localization meeting. And what I'm thinking is it seems like there's two meetings serving the same purpose, although there is the working group specialty for the localization meeting. I think we could maybe bundle them in or merge them down or basically get rid of one additional meeting. With saying that, if folks find this meeting in the time zone to be effective, I've got zero problems continuing doing the split working group and this meeting. I just wanted to propose that idea, and I'm curious what others think.
So, I try and attend both. I really get the feeling the localization meeting, what's nice about it is we just focus solely on localization and we get to go really, really deep. This meeting is more, just sort of like your typical weekly meeting, but in a different time zone, and you have perhaps different participants. And the other meeting's only once a month. So I found it really beneficial because we get to sit and just talk about, what we can agree on and what have you, best practices. So, I've found it, just attending both meetings, I find them dramatically different. But it'd be good to know what, Kohei, you typically attend both, right? So
I actually have the same type of opinion as Brad's. Because here I can talk about like general purpose, like anything about localization and documentation, and then at the localization meeting, we can deep dive about localizing and what the best practices and how do we proceed. How do we manage content, which tends to be out of date compared to the English one. So honestly, if I talk about those things at this meeting, that will be a bit out of context for English doc folks. So yeah, I prefer attending on both for different purposes.
Cool. I'm interested if anyone has any other opinions, but this is exactly why I brought it up. It sounds like there is distinct need to have both of them, and as long as other folks enjoy having the split there, I think it makes complete sense to leave them together or leave them separate, but under the same umbrella.
Yeah, I don't mind either, actually. Yeah, just if this time being it's not really good for majority of the attendees, maybe we can change it, but personally I don't mind.
Yeah, that's what's interesting is you're setting this time to cater towards international crowd, but ironically the international crowd when we have our monthly meeting is more of a 10 a.m. Eastern time is what seems to work. And that was what they picked. Does that make any sense? So
yeah. So maybe it might be worth considering if attendance is kind of drooping a little bit on the APAC friendly meeting. Maybe there's a better time zone for all the folks interested in attending, but at the very least, it makes sense to keep them in 2 separate areas. And ultimately, the other point here, which makes more sense, is that the working group at some point should resolve itself once the working group and the work is completed. So it would be a little challenging, I feel like, to combine and then split out or manage somewhere. So as I talk more about, and I appreciate y'all's opinions, definitely seems to make sense to leave them separate, but potentially proposing a new time if we see participation dropping. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, you mean for this one?
For this one, yeah,
Yeah.
not the working group localization.
Yes, because the localization leads picked that time, and they really seem to enjoy that time. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good to me. Well, what I think what we'll do is leave this as is. You know, I feel like I've already rattled the calendar invites quite a bit this year already. We'll leave everything as is, and then if we find the attendance to be relatively poor for the APAC friendly time zone meetings, consider throwing out a doodle or something like that to schedule. Cool. Any topics folks want to bring up for discussion? Pretty much open discussion now.
Oh, it's not about discussion, but I have I think I already posted on Slack as well. But so I will be talking at KubeCon.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah.
Congrats.
And so one is about Kubernetes like internal, how does it handle resources limiting and requesting, so which is technical side. And the other one is about the community, and the topic is about like a non-code contributing. So SIG Docs is definitely one of those. So yeah, I'll be talking about it, especially considering of the minority, so localization, and also like SIG Docs and project management. There are a lot of like perspectives that you can get involved with without coding, right? So I'll be talking about it.
Cool. Awesome. Is there anything that we can do to help you out with that presentation?
I think that's fine because we will be having a panel discussion with like a lot of like big people basically. So yeah, I will just provide some opinions based on localization and documentations. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. Looking forward to watching that.
Stay tuned.
Cool. Anything else? Let me make a note here.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right, last call. All right. Well, I appreciate you all attending, and we'll be in touch. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.